Hello there, my name's Ben Crandall. I'm your kiddo's sixth grade social studies teacher, and this is the video for curriculum night for those parents who couldn't attend. First things up, short bit of background here, airline background. I was in corporate airline management for a number of years, then switched over to being a teacher. My background, though, is still tied to that. My family were, both my mom and my dad are teachers. And also on top of that, I was starting in fifth grade all the way through high school in the high cap program where I grew up in Texas. And at Renton, I was a fifth grade high cap teacher before coming up here. So I'm very kind of familiar with the left turns, right turns, different directions, and twists that being a high cap student and teacher, especially in middle school, is invested in. So history here, we are the classic ancient civilization. So we go back and look at all the things that are out there from the Middle East, Europe, etc. But we're also trying to go back and look a little deeper at alternative civilizations. This is a focus across all of us as sixth grade teachers to pull out things from the Americas and from Africa and even from Australia, wherever we can find stories that look at the story of man from a greater level. To that degree, we kind of talk through things from stories and problems. We're not exactly always chronological. Facts are not mastery. I mean, clearly from my own upbringing, the drill and kill of facts is cool being a high cap student. It was very fun to get your math facts down in lightning speed or even things that from the social studies things, but it's really much more the applied history, like the why does all of this matter? And that's kind of a focus for me for having the students get up to a level 4 is to try to see how and why does this problem matter and how do they see themselves as historians, social studies kiddos, and make sense of what's going on around them. Themes of study, the main drivers that we came up with are innovation, culture, and power. Not going to define those because those are so subjective to how you want to interpret history and looking at the idea of those in power, those out of power, and exactly who gets to define culture. As I've already told the kids, culture is also defined kind of last year on the fifth grade playground when you go back and decide how you do and negotiate how to play games and different things like that. The 4, though, and I do want to say this is again this idea of applying it. So change and continuity over time. And that gets to be a little interesting. For example, this week we watched a video about the Roman Empire, but during parts of it, there was things that resembled both our current ongoing conversations with how the president's power plays out over the judicial branch and how you just create your agenda and things like that. There's also a question over cancel culture because there was an example of how the Romans had already created and demonstrated cancel culture and showed it through their monuments and how they treated people that were no longer in favor. So the goal with that though is to get the kids to see that many of these questions that we've had have been ongoing, continue to go on, different twist, maybe not the different twist, but our idea is how do we see ourselves moving through time and what things that are out there can we pull together to go back and say, okay, look through a different leaf. Oh, it's the same thing being retreaded, etc. like that. With grades, the grade book kind of breaks down things into the classics. So we have the social studies skills, and then we have the 4 areas for civics, economics, geography, and history. But there's way more than just looking at it that way. When you go back and look at all those standards, those begin to break down, and you can see here through some of the ideas here, we're trying to really get to then analysis, presentations, civics, resources, how humans interact with their environment, cause and effect. These are the skills that I want to say are the softer skills. So I was telling the kiddos today in class, actually, this is Friday, the 13th, that that history, the way they've often seen things, is simply this is geography, this is economics, this is civics, and they come across as the presentational facts of the what social studies is. And I'm trying to drive more towards the not just politics, but try to drive into the sociology and the psychology to say these are all human interactions, and we're all trying to figure out is the why did it go down that way. The what is the pieces of evidence that have been left behind, but it's the why that we get the greater learning from. And to that degree, when you go back and look at the grade book here, because this will get us to the end of the presentation here, but we're still standards-based grading, so the classic 1 to 4 grade book. Remember, mastery of content is a 3, and students should be happy to be at there. To demonstrate thinking towards a 4, it is that connection with, as I mentioned earlier, change and continuity over time for me, and to be able to see themselves in a world that is moving, but yet treading through similar experiences from the historical record that they can see themselves a part of or bring into their present to make greater understanding of who they are in this time. Again, the idea that it was entertaining, the idea of cancel culture. We all think of that as a new topic, but when the Romans were erasing people from monuments and things like that by chiseling them out, no, that was a cancel culture moment. So this idea of we get to pick who the people who are being remembered are is not a new thing, obviously, in across human culture. Anyway, these are many things that we can talk about, that we will talk about inside social studies. We'll be going in all sorts of other creative areas as well. Again, the classic civilizations, the civilizations not often talked about, trying to look at see how the fits and starts and ongoing machinations that humans did to get ourselves into the current world that we got. So any questions, please email me, ben.crandall@mercerislandschools.org, if I remember that correctly. Anyway, and we will be in contact through email or see each other at curriculum night. Thanks. Bye.